Welcome to the latest edition of the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming at you as I love to do every weekday over the airways of ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 250-plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio live over the national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Tune in this Sunday for a football doubleheader as the New York Giants host the Washington Redskins, followed by the Jacksonville Jaguars going up against the Denver Broncos. Presented by Vivid Seats and Exxon and Mobil. Pre-game begins at noon Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. You know what my line is. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. Lots of stuff to get into today. It's Football Friday. Obviously, week 4 of the NFL season is just a couple of days away, or some would say it started last night, and I ain't got no problems with that. I don't have any problems with that. I ain't heard no fat lady. Did you see the Philadelphia Eagles handle their business? Did you see it? I told you to look for it. I did tell you. I do recall telling y'all before the game yesterday to look for this. The Philadelphia Eagles, make no mistake about it, they were on the brink. I don't give a damn what anybody says. If the Philadelphia Eagles had lost last night's game, season's over. As far as I'm concerned, in terms of, I should say that, season is over in terms of supremacy over the NFC East. That would have been the Dallas Cowboys division locked down. But because the Philadelphia Eagles won, because the Dallas Cowboys could potentially lose this weekend at New Orleans, the Eagles already 2 games back, or going into the game last night 2 games back, confined themselves within 1 game of the Dallas Cowboys. And even though it was just a quarter of a season in, you can't have the Dallas Cowboys having a 3-game lead with that squad that they've got this year and expect to win the division. I don't give a damn that it was week 4. You can't have that and expect that to work out for you. It's just that simple. It's not going to work out. So the Eagles recognized that, strolled into Lambeau Field last night, and dare I say, they handled their business. They were down 10-0. Right, you had Aaron Jones running for a 3-yard touchdown. You had Crosby with his 30-yard field goal. You had Alshon Jeffrey coming back, 6-yard pass from Carson Wentz, pulled within 10-7 after Green Bay went up 13-7. Goddard, the backup tight end, because he damn sure ain't Zach Ertz, even though I like him. He got a 3-yard touchdown pass from Wentz. Eagles got a 14-13 lead. This kid, Jordan Howard, coming over from Chicago, been an APB out from the first 3 games of the season. It hasn't been that impressive. Showed up last night. Averaging nearly 6 yards a carry, 15 carries, 87 yards. But you want me to tell you right now who deserves the game ball? It's the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line. That's who deserves it. Led by Peters and Kelsey and the crew. They played like a bunch of Rough Riders. And they literally pummeled Green Bay. You Green Bay, you and your dime packages. I was taught that by Jonathan Vilma. Reminded me that the dime package is basically when you got a whole bunch of secondary dudes out there instead of stuffing it with a few linebackers and stuff like that. So you prepare more for the pass than the run. That's what Green Bay did because they didn't anticipate that the Philadelphia Eagles would be able to run the football because coming into the game, Philadelphia Eagles hadn't run the damn football all season long throughout the first 3 games. But credit and props to Doug Peterson, who gave the ball to Howard, who gave the ball to this kid Sanders, who, by the way, had a 67-yard punt return. And what do you have? You have the Eagles finishing the evening with 33 carries, 176 yards on the ground, moving the chains, handling their business. They were perfect in the red zone. I just can't say enough about them. I ain't going to lie to you. I didn't see this coming. I thought they would win because I thought it was desperate times. And desperate times call for desperate measures. Eagles couldn't afford to lose this game. They couldn't afford to go 1-3 on the season with the Dallas Cowboys potentially in a position to go 4-0. They didn't let that happen. If I sound funny, or for those of you out there that ain't hearing me correctly, whatever, I apologize. Still trying to get stuff in my ear and stuff like that. I don't hear a damn thing. But it doesn't matter. I don't need to hear you right now. You need to hear me. Because where I'm at right now is that the Eagles saved their season. This notion that it's too early to engage in such hyperbole, damn that. Had the Eagles lost this game, it'd have been a wrap. And I knew it, and that means I would have been hearing, how about them Cowboys all over the damn country, which would have made me want to throw up. And one of these days, these Cowboy fans continuing to mess with me, I'm going to throw up right on one of y'all. I know that sounds disgusting, but that's how sick y'all make me when y'all come in my face with how about them Cowboy nonsense. We'll see what they do. But the Eagles showed up and showed out last night. Howard, 87 yards rushing, over nearly 6 yards a carry. Sanders, 72 yards rushing on 11 carries, 6.5 yards a carry, including the 30-yard run in the mix, by the way. Carson Wentz, I don't need to throw for 300 yards to win this game. I could be relatively pedestrian. 16 to 27, 160 yards, 3 touchdown passes, not a single interception, 113 quarterback rating. I'm happy with that. Ertz got the ball. Jeffrey got the ball. Howard got the ball. Goddard had a couple of receptions. So did Hollins. He even had one reception. There was a sighting. Alshon Jeffrey, let's not drop any more passes. Same thing with you, Aguilar. Let's not drop any more passes. Eagles still dropping passes, damn it. That's not a good thing. I'd like to see Sproles more actively involved. That's just my particular preference because I think he should. Only 1 carry for 4 yards. I think you could get Sproles more involved. Maybe they're saving him. Maybe they're preserving him because they don't want to put themselves on Front Street just yet. The dude is 36 years old. He's a miniature dude walking around at 190 pounds. So it might behoove them to say, okay, let me chill with that. Let me make sure I play him later, not worry so much about now. I'm good with that. That makes total sense to me. I approve of that message. I approve of that message. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I'm just going to leave it like that. I'm just going to say what needs to be said. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk about a couple of things. Number one, that bad man, Aaron Rodgers. Let me say this. Doesn't seem like himself. Somebody's got to say it, so I'm going to say it. Somebody's got to say it. So I'm going to say it. Doesn't seem like himself, ladies and gentlemen. He really, really, really does not. Last night, with that interception, perfect example. Let me explain how. Yeah, Aaron Rodgers in the midst of throwing 34 for 53 for 422 yards, 2 touchdowns, a couple of dime drops. I mean, he looked sensational at times last night. You sit up there, you Green Bay, you stack the right side. Evidently, Matt LaFleur, the head coach, the rookie head coach for the Green Bay Packers, either him or Aaron Rodgers decided they wanted to pull a Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll. You got Valdez Scantling cutting over slant into the end zone. He's going to his left. The Eagles collapse on him. Aaron Rodgers throws the football anyway. By the way, timing, split second, we get all of that. Let me say this because this is very, very important. That ball hit Scantling in the chest. That ball hit Scantling in the chest. That should not have been an interception. That should not have been an interception. It hit him right in his chest. It wasn't some Malcolm Butler cutting in front of Scantling and intercepted the ball. That ball hit Scantling in his chest. Valdes-Scantling right in the chest. Bounced off of it, bounced in the air. Eagles got the interception. That's what happened. But I will say this. Darius Shepard, undrafted free agent out of North Dakota State. I think it's the same place that Carson Wentz went. This brother crossed over and went directly to the right corner of the end zone, although he turned around late because he knew that the play wasn't for him. Here's the facts. If Aaron Rodgers would have waited one more split second, that was an easy touchdown. He missed him. We can slice it any way we want to. He missed him. I'm not saying that it's such an egregious error or anything like that. I'm only saying that is not an error we see Aaron Rodgers make. We haven't seen that. Do I think that Aaron Rodgers is slipping? Do I think that? No. There is slippage between Mike McCarthy last year and thus far with a rookie head coach, Matt LaFleur. Has there been slippage? Yes. Do I think it's something that's definite and permanent? Hell no. This notion that Aaron Rodgers ain't what he used to be, y'all could kiss off. We know he didn't like playing for McCarthy. And eventually, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to say it like it is because sometimes y'all don't want to, I'm going to do what my man Joe Madison, Sirius XM, Urban View Radio, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday. Check him out. He's one of the best ever, a Hall of Famer, or as a radio host. Although it's politics, not sports, he said something. He has this saying that I believe, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Joe Madison, if you're listening anyway. I apologize if I got this wrong. But I think he said his grandpa once said that. Give it to them where the goats can get it. So that's what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give it to you where the goats can get it. Aaron Rodgers did not like playing for Mike McCarthy. And ultimately, no matter how great you are, there's going to be some dissipation somewhere if you don't get along with the people you work with and the people you work for. A healthy, happy environment, relatively speaking. It ain't like you got to throw parties together, be drinking buddies together or anything like that. But a nice, good, cordial relationship that facilitates you looking forward to coming to work every day actually does matter. If you can't stand coming to work every day, and you don't like who you're working for, or you don't like who you're working with, particularly if the person that you're working with or for is somebody that you got to be around all day, that's problematic. And that is what Aaron Rodgers was going through with Mike McCarthy, no matter how he slices it. And I'm not talking about him liking McCarthy or not liking McCarthy as a person. I'm talking about him not necessarily liking playing for the man. That's what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about him not necessarily liking playing for the man. And if you think that the man is archaic, he's not innovative, and he puts you in a position that isn't conducive to winning, you're not going to like working for him. It doesn't mean you dislike him, but it does mean you're going to dislike working for him. Then we got to remember that he got the broken collarbone because he got injured against Anthony Barr in Minnesota a couple of years ago. Then last year, he had a bevy of injuries early in the season and just tried to play through it. So when we talk about slippage on the part of Aaron Rodgers, I didn't count 2 seasons ago when he only played about 3 or 4 games, and I didn't count last year when I knew he was hurt week 3. But last night, when he missed Darius Shepard in that end zone, that did resonate with me. I got to admit that. That really, really did resonate with me. That took me aback to some degree. I did not expect that from Aaron Rodgers. I expected more. And the fact that I didn't get that, I got to tell you something. That resonates with me. I can slice it any way I want to. That kind of resonates with me. So with all of that being said, let me be very, very clear. I think Aaron Rodgers will make up for it. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to shine and continue to be great. I'm not like my man Max Kellerman, who believes that suddenly Aaron Rodgers ain't great anymore just because Patrick Mahomes could potentially be greater. The reality is that just because somebody else is greater don't mean you ain't great. And just because somebody else is phenomenal doesn't mean there's slippage on your part. Now, do I believe I've seen slippage to some degree? Yes. But I just gave you the conditions under which I think that has happened. And I think ultimately Aaron Rodgers will get it together. And as long as Green Bay's defense tries to, just inch towards greatness, I think the Green Bay Packers are legitimate Super Bowl contenders. Now, I will tell you, that wasn't the case last night because we've been bragging about that defense, which was number 2 coming into the game last night. Suddenly, that don't apply. Suddenly, you gave up 33 points to the Philadelphia Eagles. Suddenly, you ain't what we thought you were. As a defense, you can't stop the run. You didn't just give up 176 to the Eagles. You gave up 158 to Minnesota. You can run on the Green Bay Packers. That's the problem right now. You can run on them. And if you can run on them, you never know what kind of trouble that's going to get you into. So we got to keep our eyes on that as this season progresses. Make no mistake about it. That's going to be the way to go. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. There's no other way to look at it. But if you're going to tell me that Green Bay has a respectable defense, I'm going to tell you, Aaron Rodgers, don't bet against him. You can bet against him if you want to. I wouldn't advise it. I would not advise it. Aaron Rodgers is still Aaron Rodgers. I believe in this brother. He is the creme de la creme. And Patrick Mahomes coming on board, I know how fantastic he looks. I really, really do. But I also want to keep in mind, you know what? He hasn't thrown any interceptions, 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, completing nearly 72% of his passes. Absolutely phenomenal, on pace to throw for 6,000 yards. Patrick Mahomes is the truth. But I want to stay for the record. I had no problem with what Troy Aikman said the other day. When Troy Aikman said, get a third of what I've accomplished. I have no problem with Troy Aikman, a 3-time Super Bowl champion, reminding all of y'all fools out there that while Patrick Mahomes may indeed be great, you got to finish the deal. Patrick Mahomes was absolutely sensational against the New England Patriots in the AFC Championship game in the second half. I recall him going scoreless in the first half. You see, you got to play a complete game of football to win championships. That's usually what it requires. And if you don't do that, there's a price to be paid. Patrick Mahomes is something special. The likes of maybe which we have not seen. I agree with all of that. Love his composure, love his demeanor, love his leadership. Only thing I don't like about Patrick Mahomes is that he has a voice like Ed Orgeron for LSU. He sounds like the son of Ed Orgeron. That's how he sounds. I don't know about that. That's about it. What else is there not to like about Patrick Mahomes? He's the real deal. But you got to finish the deal. And see, that leads me to a bigger discussion that we don't have enough of, because too many people, and this is where money has contaminated the world of sports. Because you see, we look at a guy like Dak Prescott and you say, who the hell does he think he is to want to be the highest paid quarterback in football? Well, that's simple. What do you expect when you give Matthew Stafford $27 million? What do you expect when you give Kirk Cousins $28 million in guaranteed dollars per year for 3 years? That's $84 million, fully guaranteed. What do you expect when you do stuff like that? What do you expect? Jared Goff went to the Super Bowl, but then wet the bed, albeit against New England. Got $110 million guaranteed. Carson Wentz, a stud. Love Carson Wentz. But he was injured the last 2 years when the Eagles went to the playoffs. It was Nick Foles that had to step in and help deliver a Super Bowl championship 2 years ago. And then after that, take them to the playoffs last year and register a victory over the Chicago Bears, courtesy of a missed field goal as time was expiring. So we have to look at it from the perspective, Carson Wentz wasn't in the playoffs. Durability issues, not that he couldn't play, it's that he was hurt. But here's the reality. Carson Wentz was guaranteed $107 million. Jared Goff, $110 million. Now, Russell Wilson deserved every penny of what he was guaranteed. But when you look at what they bring to the table, Dak Prescott's right up there. And if he's right up there, how can we ignore what the hell the man has done and what he's bringing to the table? How can we ignore that? I don't know how we can. And so I'm just of the mindset that as you look at those things and you see them for what they are, that in this day and age, we can't knock anybody who wants the money. You know what we can knock? We can knock Madison Avenue for giving the money to people who don't win yet. For celebrating people even though they haven't done it yet. And I'm not saying you don't. If you're the players, you take the money. If you're Madison Avenue and somebody is capable of being marketed, you take care of them. But it's up to us as the public to demand. You know, you're getting all these commercials. You're getting all of these dollars. Can we get a championship along the way? Can we get a ring? There's nothing wrong with us demanding that. And when we look at this NFL season, we got New England, we got Kansas City. Jacoby Brissett comes in for Andrew Luck, the retired Andrew Luck. He's doing well. Minshew filling in for Nick Foles. He's doing well. Deshaun Watson looks like an absolute stud. Who was getting all the acclaim? It was Cleveland. Baker Mayfield. Have you seen a commercial without Baker Mayfield yet? I haven't. Hey, every damn place you look, he's in a commercial. They're 1-2. Baker Mayfield can play. He's no scrub. I like Baker Mayfield, but let's be clear. He's leading the league in interceptions since he's been named the starting quarterback in the NFL. He's got 19 interceptions in 16, 17 games. 19 interceptions. But he's the one with the most commercials. You see the problem? We need to think about stuff like that. We need to think about who's being celebrated. And if they're going to get the money, and Madison Avenue ain't going to hold them accountable because they're marketable, because they're great at creating headlines, you as the viewing public, as a fan, need to hold folks accountable by demanding greatness on the in their field, in their chosen field. Demand that they perform. Because I know that's what I do. I'm going to demand that you perform. Period. I've seen Aaron Rodgers in a couple of commercials. Aaron Rodgers has nothing to prove. We all know better. But I swear to you, here's where I'm going to lose. I'm going to tell you right now where I'm going to lose it. If I see Mitchell Trubisky, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, if I see them in a commercial, I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind. Because I expect more for the money you getting paid. Plain and simple. 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. You are listening live to Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. We'll get back to your calls in more in a minute. Hopefully our technical difficulties will have evaporated. I'll be able to hear programming. I'll be able to see your phone calls, all of that stuff. We take care of that, we be good to go. All right? So stick around. Don't touch it down. By the way, we got a welterweight championship fight Saturday night. Pay-per-view, courtesy of Fox. Errol Spence Jr., IBF champion. And we all know why Patrick Mahomes is number one. He's also 3-0. He's thrown for 1,195 yards. He's got 10 touchdowns, not a single interception, completing 71.9% of his passes. He's on pace to pass for 6,000 yards this year, to break Peyton Manning's all-time single-season passer record of 5,400 plus yards by 1,000 yards. That Patrick Mahomes. That is the only reason Dak Prescott right now is not the leading candidate for league MVP honors. Only reason. Only reason. And y'all gonna just sit here and ignore this brother like this. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. You stinking low-life Cowboy fans. Y'all make me sick. All this bloviating about everything Cowboys. We them boys. We making noise. But when it comes to Dak Prescott, you quiet. Quiet as a mouse. Won't even come to his defense. I got some of you stinking no good Cowboy fans calling up to this show. I don't know about Dak, man. I mean, I don't know about him, I mean, he all right. He all right, Stephen A. But, I just don't know if he that dude. I just don't know if he the one. Never mind that he had Scott Linehan. Never mind that there was no Amari Cooper. Never mind that he had Cole Beasley as a slot receiver instead of Randall Cobb, even though Cole Beasley is actually doing a good job in Buffalo right now, who's also undefeated. Never mind all of that. Oh, no, Stephen A. I mean, come on, dog. I mean, come on, man. Come on. Oh, shut up. Y'all are pathetic. It's one of the reasons why you ain't gonna win. I'm trying to tell you something right now. This is football. It's incredibly violent. You don't send your star quarterback out there wondering about his contract when he's been the model of consistency that Dak Prescott has been for this franchise.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
If you missed my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast, brought to you by the Capital One Quick Silver Card, earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey, what's in your wallet? By the way, ESPN Radio, the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, making it easy to bundle your home and your car insurance. Let's get to the phones at 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Let's go to the phones. Last night's action. Some action going on this Sunday, some of these games, and just to go through it before I get to the calls. Tennessee's visiting Atlanta. I'll give y'all my predictions, last couple of minutes of the show. But Tennessee plays Atlanta, Cleveland at Baltimore, New England at Buffalo, Kansas City at Detroit, Carolina at Houston, Oakland at Indianapolis, the Chargers at Miami, the Washington Redskins at the New York Giants. That's 8 1 o'clock games right there. Most of them good. Seattle, Arizona at 4 o'clock. Tampa Bay at the Rams. Minnesota at Chicago. That's a big 4 o'clock game. Jacksonville at Denver. Dallas at New Orleans. Obviously, Sunday Night Football game of the week. And then you got the Cincinnati Bengals and Pittsburgh Steelers. Listen, I don't want to be too critical because I'm not really talking about these two teams here. But this flex schedule thing that kicks in, damn, it's just 24 hours. I don't think 2 0-3 teams deserve to be on Monday Night Football. That's just me. I don't think 2 0-3 teams. Combined, you're 0-6. You're both winless, but you're on the premier game of the week, like Monday Night Football. Even though some would say Sunday night. I don't know. Let's go to the phones. Let's go, Nick, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Hey, Stephen A., first-time caller, long-time listener.
Thank you.
Heard you talking about the Packers game last night, obviously a tough loss. And with the Packers' recent, tough loss and the Bears' struggles with Trubisky at QB and the Lions leading the division, I was very interested to know who you think is going to come out on top in the NFC North.
To come on top in the NFC North, that's tricky. Here's why. Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. And keep in mind that Green Bay already beat Chicago and Minnesota to start off the season. And Aaron Rodgers is Aaron freaking Rodgers. I'm going to say it for you one more time, because some of you don't get it. He's a bad man. Period. I don't give a damn how Patrick Mahomes looks. And I like Patrick Mahomes. And he's probably the best right now, no question. But just because he's great doesn't take away from the greatness of Aaron Rodgers. And if Green Bay gives you any kind of defense, which they showed could be exposed last night because against stop the run, then that's different. But I would tell you this. It's very difficult to predict who's going to win the North. I'm going to have to go with Chicago. Because Trubisky is no scrub. The crime with Trubisky is that every time you see him, you think about Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes. Two quarterbacks that Chicago bypassed to move up in the damn draft to get Trubisky. You're wondering who the hell is this? Who's the scout that convinced the Chicago Bears pacing those boys to take Mitchell Trubisky number 2? Who is it? I want names. Who is this person? Because that person, could you imagine, y'all? I just want everybody out there to imagine. I'm the GM. Ultimately, I'm going to make the call. But clearly, I'm getting input from some of you. You're my scouts. You're out there. You're at the games. You're doing your homework. You're research. You're finding out who you want to hang out with, what your tendencies are, all of this other stuff. So it's bad enough that I got this brother that went to North Carolina. All right. Wasn't playing in Texas like Mahomes. Wasn't winning national championships like Deshaun Watson wasn't. Did you know in the 2 games that Deshaun Watson played against Alabama for the national championship? Did you know in the 2 games that Deshaun Watson played against Alabama for the national championship, the man threw for over 800 yards? Did you know that? For over 800 yards in the 2 games. So I see him perform against a team that could beat some NFL teams in some people's eyes at the time. And I'm the scout that convinced the GM to pass up on Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes for Mitchell Trubisky. Do you have any idea how tough it should be for that man to come into work every day? You have any idea? You have any idea? I mean, that's damn near the equivalent of convincing some dude to pass up on J-Lo to be with Rasputia from Norbit. You remember that comedy with Eddie Murphy and them? And J-Lo, Beyonce, don't worry about that. Pick Rasputia. That's basically the equivalent of it. Because that's how a wide an ocean apart Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson is to Mitchell Trubisky. And that's not to knock Mitchell Trubisky. It's to highlight how great Mahomes and Deshaun Watson are. And I'm the scout that convinced you to pass up on them for Mitchell Trubisky. You have any idea how difficult it probably is for that man to go? That's assuming he still has his damn job. Because I ain't going to lie to you. I'm the kind of dude, that's a fireable offense. This is not passing up on Michael Jordan for Hakeem the Dream Olajuwon. This is passing up on Michael Jordan for Sam Bowie. That's what this looks like. Well, maybe not quite, because Mitchell Trubisky could play. And he's not that Bowie couldn't play, but he was always injured. That wasn't the case with Mitchell Trubisky. But you get the analogy. I'm just saying. Somebody got to say these things. So why not me? Gabe, real quick, you're live with Stephen A.
Hey, Stephen A., longtime listener. Really happy to be on the show. And actually, I'm a student at Washington State, so I love seeing Gardner in the NFL.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I got a question for you about Lamar. You know, the guy's a freak athlete, but hasn't really played a defense that can contest him. What do you think happens in the long run? Obviously,
well, listen, give credit where credit is due. Lamar Jackson, for 3 quarters and 2 minutes in an AFC divisional playoff game against the Chargers, he completed 3 passes for 25 yards. He was god-awful. So what did he do this year? In the offseason, he clearly worked on staying in the pocket and flinging the football because he knows running is always an option. There have been times when he could run And he refused to do so just because he knows that's not what's going to make him a better quarterback. What's going to make him a better quarterback is standing in there in the pocket, if you can, and positioning yourself to fling that football to somebody downfield. That's going to preserve him. That's going to preserve his career. Give credit where credit is due. So I look at Lamar Jackson and his willingness to do that, and I say that's a huge plus on his part because that's not a skill set people are inclined to develop. Michael Vick didn't do it until later on in his career. Donovan McNabb picked it up quicker than later. But there was a time when he had a problem with that. Randall Cunningham had a problem with that. That's not what Lamar Jackson is doing. He's only 22. And so when I look at it from that perspective, I say sky's the limit because you're willing to learn. And you're willing to learn, and you've proven that you will learn from your experiences, even the bad ones. And I like that, I respect it, and I appreciate it. So I'm all good with it. Plain and simple. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much. And get back in class. That's why I hung up on you. Get the hell back in class. I love the fact that you're listening to my radio show. I thank you for that. But damn it, you're calling me at 1:42 East Coast time, which means it's 11:42 West Coast time out there, Washington State, which means you're behind and supposed to be in class. Now, Stevie A loves the kids. You know that. But I love you in school. I appreciate you listening to me. But get your behind back in class. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls and more to close out hour number 1 in a minute before my man Teddy Atlas comes on to jumpstart hour number 2. You're listening live. Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, the hunt for the playoffs is on. Tune in tonight as Chris Bryant and the Cubs visit the St. Louis Cardinals. Presented by Scotts. Coverage begins at 7:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and
Avonte Maddox, he's not as big as you would like. Sidney Jones has not lived up to the billing. So they have to keep the ball in front of them and don't turn it over offensively.
Sal Palantonio right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I actually think that Carson Wentz has been taking too many hits. I'm talking about too much criticism. That's what I mean by that, Sal Pal. I find him scrambling out of the pocket, holding on the ball a little bit longer, trying to extend plays. I think the 61% completion percentage is a misnomer. Dudes have been dropping passes. They've got 11 drops on the season, which leads the NFL. I think those things are the things that we need to be talking about as opposed to the play of Carson Wentz. How have you felt watching Carson Wentz now compared to what you've seen his first 2 years in the National Football League?
Yeah, well, first of all, you and I could not agree more. Mm-hmm. Their drops are at a historic level. His drop rate percentage was 19.4% against the Lions. Mm-hmm. That's the worst drop rate he has ever suffered in his 4-year career and the worst of an Eagles quarterback since 2006. Too many drops get your completion percentage down, and you have inexperienced wide receivers not getting open. They double-team Zach Ertz. But this is on the coaching staff a little bit too here now, Stephen A. You know Matt Patricia comes out of the Bill Belichick school. They're going to take away your best offensive option. That was Zach Ertz on Sunday. They double-teamed him. He was not a factor for more than half the game. And that forced him to throw to guys who were not open and inexperienced and who dropped it. So it's definitely not Carson Wentz's fault. He's holding on to the ball for a reason. Now, in the Atlanta game, which I covered on Sunday Night Football, the offensive line of the Eagles was completely outmaneuvered by the games and the stunts that they played in Atlanta. And I just thought that they were not prepared at the beginning of that game for what the Atlanta defensive front sent their way. So I don't blame Carson Wentz, but I do blame the coaching staff for not allowing this team to be ready, especially in the first quarter, and especially not having an answer. Everybody knows Matt Patricia comes right out of the Bill Belichick DNA. You know what he's going to do. He beat Matt Patricia in the Super Bowl. So how could he not be ready?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
It's being brought to you live from above Pier 17, South Street Seaport. Presented by Chase. Mitchell, you're live with Stephen A. Talk to me.
Man, how you been, man? It's been since you're tenured on Mad Dog that I've had to call up and roast you.
How you doing, man? How's everything?
Man, I've been hanging in there. Listen, Stephen A., I don't understand with this Patrick Mahomes contract that's coming up. Schefter's reporting that he's going to get over a $200 million contract, and Dak's over there with his eyes getting big. But what I fail to see is how Patrick Mahomes is doing this with his number one receiver on the bench, with a broken offensive line, a third-string running back, and he's still putting up 400 yards a game like it's nothing.
Well, first of all, stop. Tyreek Hill is something special, but he's not been there. We know this. Sammy Watkins is no scrub. DeMarcus Robinson is no scrub. Travis Kelce's the best tight end in football.
Sammy Watkins was irrelevant until he got into the.
No, he wasn't. No, he was not. He was hurt. And he was hurt, and Tyreek Hill and those boys were doing their thing. And on top of it all, he was mired in Buffalo at one point without a quarterback.
But, all right, so with that withstanding, you're telling me that Dak Prescott with one of the best running backs in the league, with a stud wide receiver, with the defense.
Tell me. What's the name of the show? Tell me what the name of the show is. Then get to your damn point.
I'm trying to
Don't give me a soliloquy. Ask the question. You think you got 5 minutes?
There is no way that Dak Prescott deserves to be paid even closely the amount of money.
I don't think he will be. I don't think anybody is saying that, A, and I don't think he will be, B. Have a nice weekend. Goodbye. Let's go to Albert. You're live with Stephen A. Go ahead, Albert, real quick.
What's going on, Stephen A., man? I got these overhyped Cowboy fans all on my face every day.
All right, man. You only got 30 seconds. Go ahead.
So they want to talk about Dak Prescott, Jason Witten. Come on, man. Jason Witten. They had Tony Romo, Des Bryant, DeMarcus Ware. They had them boys, and they were always talking about they're going to go to the Super Bowl and this, that, whatever. But you know what? They're not going to do nothing because those Cowboys from back in the day would have beat these Cowboys from now. So I don't want to hear none of that with Dak Prescott. And, man, no. They're no good. They're garbage. Trash.
Got it. I appreciate it. They're garbage, they're trash, but they're undefeated, about to go against New Orleans Sunday night. So, in other words, you called me up to express emotionally your frustration. That's why you stood on hold. To tell me that a team who obviously isn't trash is trash, just because that's how you feel emotionally. Who you going to call next, dear Abby? Good Lord. Hour number 2 up next. Talk to y'all in a minute.
My name is Meredith.
Smith Show, here with you for the next hour over the airwaves of ESPN Radio and ESPN News. 250 plus markets across the United States of America. Check your AM, FM listing nearest you, plus ESPN Radio on Sirius XM Channel 80, plus ESPN Radio. Simulcast over the live national television airwaves of ESPN News. Number to call up as always is 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. The hunt for the playoffs is on. Tune in tomorrow night as Chris Bryant and the Cubs visit the St. Louis Cardinals. Presented by Indeed. Coverage begins at 6:30 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This player resume is being brought to you by Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. So post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. You know, before I get back to the phones, I got into this subject a little bit yesterday, but got Teddy Atlas coming on midway through this hour, so I figured I had a little time to touch on something. Ladies and gentlemen, the subject is weed. It is necessary. Ladies and gentlemen, there's been a few lies, misnomers that have been put out there about me. So to clear the record, I would like to touch on this relatively sensitive subject. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just give you some insight into who I am. I am a fiscal conservative. I'm a social liberal. The one thing that is conservative about me is my money. I would like to keep more of it than give away more of it in taxes. That is absolutely true. I'm a believer in capitalism. That's true. I ain't apologizing for that to anybody. Not a damn soul. But when it comes to social issues, gay rights, pro-life or pro-choice and stuff like that, I'm a relatively live and let live kind of guy. But I'm also somebody that's specific. I understand the difference between somebody who's pro-choice as opposed to pro-life, or somebody who's pro-life but isn't a supporter of the government subsidizing pro-lifers. See, I can tell the difference. I can tell the difference between somebody who's pro-life and somebody who says, live your life, but damn it, don't ask me to pay for it. See the difference? These are kind of things that politicians don't tell you about, which is why many people have come to me and said, Stephen A., when are you running for office? Now, that's not my style. Admittedly so, from strictly lawful perspective, let's just say I have a Clinton-esque past, and I don't believe that me running for office is necessarily the wisest thing to do. Okay? I get that. Even though in this day and age, some people would sit up there and say you can get away with anything. Just look at our politics. Let me explain something to y'all. When it comes to the issue of weed, I don't give a damn whether you smoke weed or not. As a person covering professional sports, as a reporter and stuff like that, who knows an awful lot of people who smoke some weed, I don't have a problem with it. I'm cool with Snoop Dogg. Would I be cool with him if I had a problem with weed? I had the pleasure of being backstage and chilling for a little while with Cat Williams. Cat Williams, who, by the way, is one of the greatest comedians in the history of this country. I mean, Cat Williams is hysterical and brilliant all at the same time. All right? Buck wild in his own way, but who gives a damn? I'll pay to see him any day of the week, and you should too. Cat Williams special, man. I ain't never seen him doing it. I was honored to be with him. Honored that he, and by the way, first class treatment all the way. Had me backstage. That brother was very, very good to me. None but love for Cat Williams. I don't have a problem with people smoking weed. It's none of my business. I don't do it. I get on professional athletes who lose money because of it. There's a difference. When you got David Irvin, former Dallas Cowboy for 4 years with the team, literally going on social media and announcing to the world that he'd rather retire at age 25 than give up smoking weed, you got a problem. Now, if you get my man Max Kellerman on the air, he'll go off about the hypocrisy of the National Football League and alcohol and all this stuff. You listen to Calvin Johnson or read his article from the other day, and he's talking about how he used a medicinal weed every day throughout his career to help him better deal with the pain. I have no problem with that. On a far more serious note, we all know my story as it pertains to my mom. We know that the person that I believe to be the greatest human being I've ever known, not just a woman, the greatest human being I've ever known in my life, is my mama. Passed away a couple years ago. We actually wanted her to consider medicinal marijuana. She wouldn't do it, but we actually wanted her to. So this notion that I'm opposed to weed is nonsense. I am opposed to individuals who know the rules and regulations, knows it's going to cost them money, and do it anyway for recreational purposes. It ain't pain management. In most instances anyway. If you chilling in April or May and you just decide you want to smoke some weed, you want to puff, and pass. And I got a problem with this notion that every rule we don't like, we need to change it, or we need to be excused for breaking it because we don't like the damn rules. That's not a rule. If that happens, you actually think, my brother Shannon, one of my producers here, you actually think he likes every single rule that ESPN has? My social media guru, Brendan Kaminsky, he likes every damn rule that ESPN has in place? You think, Stephen A. Smith, knowing me the way you do, you actually think I like every rule that ESPN has, that the Philadelphia Inquirer had when I was there, that the New York Daily News had when I was there, that Fox Sports or CNN had when I was there throughout the 25 years I've been a professional? You actually think that? Ladies and gentlemen, somewhere along the way, you got to open your eyes and your brain and listen to what the hell people are saying when they say it. I happen to love Jimmy Pitaro. I think Jimmy Pitaro is a great boss. Connor Shell, the number 2 here at ESPN, I don't know if I've ever met a nicer guy. I really don't. And there's been quite a few. You think that I like every rule they have? You think they like every rule that Bob Iger, the CEO of Walt Disney, puts in place? You really, really think that Steph Curry likes any rules that the Golden State Warriors have? Or LeBron James liked any rule that Cleveland or Miami or Cleveland before that or the Lakers now might have in place? You really think that? Grow the hell up. Every rule is not meant to be liked. Every rule is not meant for you to sit up there and say, hey, I love this. Thank you for the rule. Doesn't work that way. But you're supposed to exercise the discipline and the intestinal fortitude to follow whatever rules and regulations exist in a platform you volunteer to participate in or on. That's what we're talking about here. Now, again, for medicinal purposes, the pain is too excruciating, and you got to take something to alleviate it, no problem. Or far more serious issues, absolutely. And when Calvin Johnson brings up opioid use or whatever it is that they do, the anti-inflammatories or anything else that does greater harm to the body, supposedly, than weed does, I get all that. Totally understood. I'm only speaking to them damn dudes out there, and you know who the hell you are, that don't have none of those issues. You just want to smoke weed, knowing it's going to cost you 6 figures, 7 figures. That is the inexcusable element in all of this. Should there be more research about the inclusion of cannabis, weed, in our world, in our workplace? Okay, that's what you want to say. Fine. Me personally, if it slows you down, if it inebriates you in some way, if it makes you go on from talking like this, how I'm talking to you now, and suddenly I'm like, hey, you know, it's all right. Know what I'm saying? Everything's cool, you know. Yo, Brendan, Shannon, don't worry about making sure we hit the break on time. I know we're supposed to get out of break by 21 minutes, 22 minutes past the hour. Don't worry about that. You know, we gonna miss the commercial break. We gonna miss spending our commercial time making sure that the advertisers and sponsors for the show, we gonna miss that time so we could play their commercials. Ain't no biggie. It's all right. What kind of damn radio show would I have? Tell me. I remember Lamar Odom. We know what he was doing. You playing in the finals. Kobe Bryant ticked off. Y'all lost to Boston. You got to go back to LA for game 6 and 7. Lamar Odom, we going to the crib. Ain't no biggie, we going to the crib. See, y'all looking at the fact that they won the series. You know what I'm looking? I'm looking at the days leading up to those games. If you saw him say that and you thought he was high, how would you feel about taking your hard-earned money and paying it to go to the game to patronize the NBA brand? These are the kind of things you have to think about. You have to think about the average Joe out there. Even though they ain't putting their bodies on the line the way that you are, they are putting their hard-earned money into your product, which helps subsidizes it, which enables you to get the money that you're getting. And what they're saying is they want to make sure you're lucid, you're clear, you're 100% from a mental perspective, all in, focused on max effort. With all of these legal supplements out here that can help you be in prime condition in order to perform whatever requisite task you've signed up for, your attitude, your mentality is to go out there and smoke some weed. I ain't down with that. Especially when the NFL has a rule in place that states, excuse me, if you smoke weed and we bust you, you get suspended. That's the reality. That's the reality. It's not about smoking weed or not smoking weed. It's about the fact that rules and regulations are applicable to all of us. And we don't get to like every rule. The point is, if it's a rule, damn it, it's a rule. And deal with it. Y'all are sitting there, ain't doing no harm to just sit there and listen to me do radio. If I came out ready, what's up, y'all? Welcome to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I love y'all. Well, Stephen A., what the hell is going on, man? What the hell is wrong with Baker Mayfield? He's leading the league in interceptions with 19 since he became a starting quarterback. Y'all need to chill. He gonna be all right. Don't even worry about it. He got this. Well, Stephen A., I mean, come on now. I mean, what the hell is going on? You can't have Odell Beckham Jr. just disappearing like this. Y'all tripping. You ain't got to worry about that. Folks be calling up to get me fired. Only person I've seen that's remotely entertaining with weed is Snoop. Snoop can smoke some weed and go out on stage, and I'm still loving him. By the way, Pharrell is sensational too, by the way. Ask me how I know some other time. All I'm telling you is this notion about weed and all of this other stuff, it ain't about that. I don't care about folks smoking weed. I care about people willing to lose money just to do it. The Al Harringtons of the world and others that are in the cannabis business. Nobody's picking up on one thing. He's making money off of it. It's not an insult, it's a compliment. I love that brother. He's making money. He's turned it into a business. I get that. I'm talking about the dudes who lose money because of it. After working their entire lives to get to this point. It's stupid. And I will not co-sign on it. I don't give a damn what none of y'all say. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Back to the phones we go. Bobby, you're live with Stephen A. Go ahead.
Stephen A., good afternoon, brother.
What's up?
Listen, I got a problem. I got a problem with those individuals advocating for Dak Prescott to get his money now. So when you look at Russell Wilson, he played his entire contract, rookie deal, won a Super Bowl for the Seattle Seahawks, and then got paid. Why can't Dak do the same?
I don't understand. Why should Dak do the same what?
Play out his contract.
No. There's plenty of dudes that haven't played out their contract in the National Football League. Because it's the National Football League. Usually in other sports, you have a point. But in the National Football League, where they could come to you to cut your salary, waive you all together, cut you all together, restructure your deal, and make room for other people and stuff like that, The bottom line is, in the National Football League, that is the one sport where it should always be okay for dudes to try to get their money as soon as possible, because the owners will try to cut your dollars as soon as possible, even after they give it to you. And especially since it's allowed in the sport for you to restructure your deal to facilitate others being paid, it's all right for you to get the money up front, because it doesn't mean you're going to always keep it. Let's say, for example, you give Dak Prescott a boatload of money. You might come to him in 2 years and say, yo, man, we need to restructure your deal. We need you to curb some of these dollars so we can bring in some help to help us win. Like they've done with Tom Brady and others, you could potentially pull that off. There's nothing wrong with that.
Got it.
Appreciate the call. Let's go to Eric. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, E?
Hey, Steve, man. Thanks for taking my call. Listen, a quick question for your opinion, too. So these past 3 games, Todd Gurley, what I've seen from him is no burst. I mean, he doesn't look like he's at 100%. Do you think this is what to expect for him for the rest of the season?
I don't know whether that's what to expect from him for the rest of the season, because I'm not a doctor. What I can tell you is that Todd Gurley does not look 100%. And clearly he's being managed in some capacity to keep him healthy for the long run. I think that's exactly what Sean McVay is doing right now. And we'll see whether or not it works. You're going to need Todd Gurley to win a Super Bowl championship. I think the Rams know that better than anybody. I think their offense was inhibited because he wasn't 100% for the Super Bowl last year against New England. And I think we all knew that.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I haven't seen him make a hard cut yet this whole season.
Well, that's why, bro.
So
when you're not 100%, that's why you would not see that.
Yeah, it's just
all right.
They don't even want to run between the tackles. But I appreciate it, Stephen.
Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate the call. Let's go to Bob. I'm sorry, Rob. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Rob?
Hey, Stephen A. Huge fan of the show, and you. First time caller. I just wanted to ask you if the Cowboys don't go deep in the playoffs.
Jason Garrett will be fired.
Yeah. Do you think Dak Prescott still deserves his money? $40 million a year?
I think he deserves his money because I think that Kirk Cousins got money. Matthew Stafford got money. Matt Ryan got money, even though he's gone to a Super Bowl. Big Ben Roethlisberger hasn't been to one since 2010. He's got his money. He's making $34 million this year. And when you look at the plethora of quarterbacks out there due to get paid, Carson Wentz hasn't played in a postseason game, and he still got his money. At the end of the day, when you're looking at certain guys, what you have to look at is what the market allows. You can't look at their talent and just measure it with that. The market allows for him to get paid what he's getting paid. And do you know why the market is there, Rob? The market is there because the sport has grown. It's proliferated so exponentially that there's money out there now that was never out there before. So if you're getting a 49 to 50% take of football revenue, and football revenue is exceeding $18 billion annually, and you see these guys getting paid because the cap allows for them to make this kind of money over the course of one season, and then you look around and you see relatively mediocre to average quarterbacks getting paid a boatload of money, why wouldn't a 2-time Pro Bowler who's been to the playoffs and won 2 division crowns, playing for the number 1 brand in the sport, as sickening as it is for me to admit that, playing for the number 1 brand in the sport, who, by the way, succeeded Tony Romo, who, by the way, has been available every single game and has never missed a game and has been a model citizen while playing his role and doing his job, why would he not deserve it based on what the market allows?
There should be more of a bar of accomplishment than what the market.
Well, let me ask you this question, Rob. How come you didn't call me to say that when Carson Wentz came for his money?
Oh, first time caller. I wish I did.
All right. Well, no. Answer my question. I ain't asked you what you wish. This ain't Christmas. I asked you, why didn't you call me when Carson Wentz got his money? Why didn't you call me when Jared Goff got his money? Why are you calling me now about Dak Prescott, but you didn't call about them?
So those guys probably shouldn't have got their money, but Dak Prescott, they're talking about how he's going to be the highest paid quarterback in the league.
Sir, I specifically asked you a question. See, I got to get Joe Madison on you now. I specifically asked you a question. That question was, why didn't you call me? I didn't ask you what they probably didn't deserve. I said, why didn't you find it within yourself to pick up the phone and call me when those guys got their money?
I should have.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. I got to run. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Teddy Atlas, boxing analyst extraordinaire. He's up next with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Your radio.
And we all know why Patrick Mahomes is number one. He's also 3-0. He's thrown for 1,195 yards. He's got 10 touchdowns, not a single interception, completing 71.9% of his passes. He's on pace to pass for 6,000 yards this year, to break Peyton Manning's all-time single-season passer record of 5,400-plus yards by 1,000 yards. That Patrick Mahomes. That is the only reason Dak Prescott right now is not the leading candidate for league MVP honors. Only reason. Only reason. And y'all gonna just sit here and ignore this brother like this. Y'all should be ashamed of yourself. You stinking low-life Cowboy fans. Y'all make me sick. All this bloviated about everything Cowboys. We them boys. We making noise. But when it comes to Dak Prescott, you quiet. Quiet as a mouse. Won't even come to his defense. I got some of you stinking no good Cowboy fans calling up to this show. I don't know about Dak, man. I mean, I don't know about him, I mean, he all right. He all right, Stephen A. But, I just don't know if he that dude. I just don't know if he the one. Never mind that he had Scott Linehan. Never mind that there was no Amari Cooper. Never mind that he had Cole Beasley as a slot receiver instead of Randall Cobb, even though Cole Beasley is actually doing a good job in Buffalo right now, who's also undefeated. Never mind all of that. Oh, no, Stephen A. I mean, come on, dog. I mean, come on, man. I mean, come on. Oh, shut up. Y'all are pathetic. There's one of the reasons why you ain't gonna win. I'm trying to tell you something right now. This is football. It's incredibly violent. You don't send your star quarterback out there wondering about his contract when he's been the model of consistency that Dak Prescott has been for this franchise.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Beautiful, I just want you to know you're my favorite girl. I ain't talking to a lady, by the way. Not right now. I'm about to talk to somebody very special, but before I do that, let me say this. By now, you probably heard me talk about my computer career and think, nope, not me. I don't know the first thing about computers. That's okay, though. You don't have to. Before they started, many of their graduates could turn a computer on and off, and that's about it. Now they're IT professionals, and you can do it too. Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation today. You could start your new life as an IT pro in as little as 4 months, even if you're not a techie. It ain't rocket science. It's My Computer Career. Ladies and gentlemen, on the line right now is boxing analyst extraordinaire spanning 4 decades, my buddy, my friend, one of the greatest analysts ever, the one and only Teddy Atlas is on the phone with yours truly. What's up, big time? How are you, sir?
My man.
How's everything going?
How you doing?
Hey, listen, Teddy, before we get into this boxing match Saturday night at the Staples Center, I got a confession to make to you, Teddy. I don't know if you've seen me in a while. Do you know that I tore my rotator cuff? I had to get operated on about 7 weeks ago because I was
because you're messing around with boxing. You ain't supposed to be messing around with no boxing. You got to do boxing, you come to me. You want to play basketball, you go play basketball. But you're going to do boxing, you don't do that unless you come to me.
I messed up by not coming to you, Teddy. I should have been with you, man. That's what should have. I wouldn't have torn my rotator cuff if I was with you.
No, because I wouldn't have had you in the ring.
Teddy Atlas right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Look, Teddy, we got a big-time fight going on tomorrow night, Staples Center. Errol Spence Jr., the reigning IBF champion of the world, going up against Sean Porter. Talk to me about what this fight, break down this fight for me, the matchups between these two guys.
Well, I mean, with Porter, you got a guy throughout his career, he's been a physical guy. You know, you guys do a lot of football, so I'm going to use a football analogy. He's been a fullback. He's been a guy that does the blocking. He's the guy that runs up the middle. He's the guy that you call on for short yardage. You know, he's that bull in the china shop.
You talk about Sean Porter. You talk about Sean Porter, right?
Yeah, that's Porter. And that's what Porter was. That's what he made his bones on. That's how he got to where he got. But then something funny happened, you know, on the way to another title. All of a sudden, he's getting a little older. He starts to realize that game doesn't work with everybody, especially at the elite level, and especially when you start getting a little bit older. So now the last fight against Ugas, the fight which was really close. The fight that, quite frankly, I thought he might have lost it. But he started using his jab. He started using his legs. He started to look at the box a little bit more. So the thing for me is, which Porter's going to show up? You know, and if I'm going to stick to the football analogy, you're going to play a team that's maybe better than you in certain areas. Because I think Spence is better than Porter in most areas. I don't think there's anything Porter can do in the ring that Spence can't do and can't do better. So if you're going to play a football team that's better, with a good defense, stronger, well, what do you got to do? You got to run the ball to set up the pass. And then you got to mix it up a little bit. You got to keep them off guard. You got to keep them off balance. Why? So their better talent is not set to be used in a way that it can be used. You keep them off balance. That's what Porter's got to do. Porter's got to do a little bit of the aggressive Porter, but a little bit of the boxing. I think he's got to mix it up if he's going to have a chance to go. He's got a tough situation going in there trying to dethrone Mr. Spence. I got him as one of my pound-for-pound top guys. I got him number 3. I got Lomachenko, and I got Crawford. You know, it's your choice, 1A. It depends how you like the ice cream. You like the ice cream with sprinkles? I know you like sprinkles. You like anything that's got a little something extra in it. I know that. So if that's what you like, then, you know, that's your choice. That's the only difference between Crawford and Lomachenko. But I got Spence number 3. And like I said, he does anything that Porter can do. He can get better. He was known as a relentless guy, Spence, a guy that he can destroy, come get you, big welterweight, strong, good body puncher. But you know what? He can counterpunch. He can box. He's an Olympian. This is a guy who's very versatile, very dimensional. So there's nothing that he can't do in there. So again, if Porter's just going to be the bull in the china shop of old Porter, he's going to get counted. He's going to get caught. He might even get stopped on his way in. But if he mixes it up enough, that for me is his ticket to having a shot, just a shot, to pull off what would be a big upset.
Well, Teddy, when we sit up there and listen, bottom line, when we sit up there and we think about it and we look at it, Teddy, Errol Spence Jr., you said you got him number 3 in your pound for pound list. You consider him that great. What is so great about about Errol Spence Jr. right now? Highlight that for people. What makes him so great?
His belief in himself. His belief that you're not going to believe. You're not going to beat him. Cus D'Amato once said to me there were only 2 fighters that he knew that had what he called supreme confidence. Muhammad Ali and Sugar Ray Robinson. Pretty damn good fighters. They had supreme confidence. They did not believe that anybody could beat them. I think he has that kind of supreme confidence. I believe when Spence steps in that ring, in that chamber of truth, in that square circle, he believes there ain't nobody except him coming out of that ring with the win. So one of it is complete supreme confidence. The other is he's technically solid. He's efficient in all areas. Like I said, he can go get you. He can box on the outside. He can set traps. He can counterpunch. He can use the jab. And if that's not enough, here's a couple of sprinkles to throw on that beautiful sundae, that beautiful banana split. He's a southpaw. So on top of all that, he's coming at you in the wrong direction.
Teddy Atlas right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, make sure you tune into The Fight with Teddy Atlas. Teddy Atlas, that's his podcast. It's must listen to. I make no mistake about that. Let me ask you this, Teddy. When I look at Errol Spence Jr.'s career, I know Mikey Garcia is a big-time fighter, but he moved up 2 weight classes to fight Errol Spence and obviously lost by decision. Lucky he didn't get knocked out. And Kell Brooks is on his resume as well. We can't ignore that, and he stopped Kell Brooks. Where does this rank in terms of tough fights that Sean Porter, that Errol Spence has had in his career fighting Sean Porter tomorrow night?
Anytime you put a guy, and I'm going to say that guy's going to be Porter, anytime you put a guy in a crossroads fight, in a fight where you're saying, I'm putting your head on the block, I'm putting your head on the guillotine, you know what? Your head might get chopped off if you don't move it. When you're doing that, and that's kind of, I know that's dramatic, but that's kind of the situation Porter's in. If he still wants to be with the big dogs after this, if he still wants to be an elite fighter, if he still wants to be a prominent name, if he still wants the biggest paychecks, he has to do either win this fight or be really competitive in this fight. So that is where the danger comes. That is what you're facing. That's the most important thing, is what does a man feel he has to do? When a man is put into a situation where there's urgency, you got a better man. You got a more difficult man. You got a better fighter. You got a more difficult fighter. So really that is the situation that he's facing right now, that he has to be cognizant of that, he being Spence, of that. And, of course, as I said, the grit, the toughness, the mental toughness, the attitude, and the physicality of Porter. He must not allow that to be used in the way that Porter wants to use it.
Teddy Atlas, when we look at the sport of boxing, just looking at it from a macro perspective, is the fight that we want most and that we should want most, is that Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford? I
do. I would love to see that fight, because in that fight you got a physical Spence, a big welterweight. Sometimes I don't know how the hell he makes weight, and a southpaw, an Olympian, a guy who's technically tremendous. He crosses his T's, he dots all his I's, he checks all the boxes. He's mentally proficient. He believes he's the best in the world. And you're going in there against an undefeated world champion, multi-division, multi-class world champion in Crawford, who is longer. He's the kind of guy that likes to charge you for real estate. He likes to be on the outside. If you come in 6 inches, he's going to charge you maybe 5 punches. He's going to make you pay for that real estate. So a guy who controls range, a guy who's a good puncher, he carried his punch, Crawford that is, carried his punch up in weight. But one other thing, this is the thing that for me makes Crawford special, where he makes a 1 and 1A with him and Lomachenko, another special guy. He has, Crawford being he, has some of the greatest, Stephen, instincts I've ever seen. He's got the special instincts that are born. They're not made. They're not created. They're not taught in the gym. These are special instincts. Special, innate instinct. I would love to see that go up against the physicality, the technique, and the confidence of Spence.
So with that being said, does Spence have some of those instincts? Real quick.
Not to the level that Crawford has. He doesn't have to have them. He's made up differently. You know, does he have the instincts when it comes to believing he's going to win, to finding a way to win? To finding a way to get to where he needs to get to? Does he have that kind of instinct, that kind of makeup, that kind of attitude? Yeah, he's got that. Does he have the instincts to, if there's a problem, he can overcome it? You know, I don't think he was at his best in the fight against Kell Brook, but what he brought in that fight over in London across the pond, where he had to go over there to get his first title, was just a desire to win. Just the gritty, regular desire to fight. He didn't show all of his prowess that night. He didn't show all of his dimensions that night. But he wasn't leaving that arena. That night it was only about one thing. At any way, at any cost, win the fight.
Teddy Atlas, real quick, who do you have winning this fight? Spence Jr., Sean Porter, what round?
I got Spence winning the fight either handily, majority, just a unanimous decision, or possibly stopping him late. And don't be shocked if there's cuts, because Porter comes into his head. It's his style. Not like he's doing it on purpose, but it's his style. He's a billy goat. And he'll come in there with his head. There could be cuts. That could stop the fight. Or I could see Spence late in the fight, 9th, 10th, 11th round, somewhere around there on the back end of the fight, catching him with a clean counterpunch as Porter comes in, maybe a little top-heavy, maybe a little reckless, maybe a little desperate, where he gets reckless because he's trying to catch up and he runs into a punch.
Teddy Atlas, The Fight with Teddy Atlas. That's his podcast. One of the best ever boxing analysts we've ever seen. The one and only Teddy Atlas right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Appreciate you, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Always appreciate it. No more getting in that ring.
I
Hear me?
I promise, man.
All right.
It's over. It's over. I get it. And it ain't say ESPN is the number to call up. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Pick from a range of coverage options with the Name Your Price tool to find a price that works for you.
Geico, 15 minutes.
Avante Maddox, he's not as big as you would like. Sidney Jones has not lived up to the billing. So they have to keep the ball in front of them and don't turn it over offensively.
Sal Palantonio right here with Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I actually think that Carson Wentz has been taking too many hits. I'm talking about too much criticism. That's what I mean by that, Sal Pal. I find him scrambling out of the pocket, holding on the ball a little bit longer, trying to extend plays. I think the 61% completion percentage is a misnomer. Dudes have been dropping passes. They've got 11 drops on the season, which leads the NFL. I think those things are the things that we need to be talking about as opposed to the play of Carson Wentz. How have you felt watching Carson Wentz now compared to what you've seen his first 2 years in the National Football League?
Yeah, well, first of all, you and I could not agree more. Mm-hmm. Their drops are at a historic level. His drop rate percentage was 19.4% against the Lions. Mm-hmm. That's the worst drop rate he has ever suffered in his 4-year career, and the worst of an Eagles quarterback since 2006. Too many drops get your completion percentage down, and you have inexperienced wide receivers not getting open. They double-team Zach Ertz. But this is on the coaching staff a little bit too here now, Stephen A. You know Matt Patricia comes out of the Bill Belichick school. They're going to take away your best offensive option. That was Zach Ertz on Sunday. They double-teamed him. He was not a factor for more than half the game. And that forced him to throw to guys who were not open and inexperienced and who dropped it. So it's definitely not Carson Wentz's fault. I mean, he's holding on to the ball for a reason. Now, in the Atlanta game, which I covered on Sunday Night Football, the offensive line of the Eagles was completely outmaneuvered by the games and the stunts that they played in Atlanta. And I just thought that they were not prepared at the beginning of that game for what the Atlanta defensive front sent their way. So I don't blame Carson Wentz, but I do blame the coaching staff for not allowing this team to be ready, especially in the first quarter, and especially not having an answer. Everybody knows Matt Patricia comes right out of the Bill Belichick DNA. You know what he's going to do? He beat Matt Patricia in the Super Bowl. So how could he not be ready?
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line.
Rock on. Who do you love? Are you sure? If you missed any of the show today, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith Podcast. Brought to you by the Capital One Quicksilver Card. Earning unlimited 1.5% cash back on every purchase everywhere. Hey! What's in your wallet? Before we get on out of here real quick, let's go to Aldo. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Aldo. You only got a minute. Go.
Hi. Hey. How are you?
I'm all right. Go ahead. Hurry up. Go.
Okay. Who do you think will be the best team in the NFL this season?
Kansas City. We could lean on the New England Patriots because of Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and somehow, some way, they always find a way. But I think durability is an issue. Health is an issue. Rob Gronkowski having retired due to health issues is an issue. And I think what we're seeing from Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, if they get anybody to help them defensively, it's a wrap. Because Tyreek Hill is coming back to their offense, which is already the number one passing offense and number one offense in the NFL.
Yeah.
All right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. Let's go. Tyler, real quick. You're live with Stephen A. What's up, Tyler?
What's going on? I'm a big fan, Stephen A. Big fan.
Thank you. Hurry up.
I got two quick
Go.
questions for you. Number one, I just wanted to know who you think you got winning this weekend.
Saints.
Saints.
Saints. What's your second question? Hurry up.
Question. Do you think the Cowboys are good enough to make the Super Bowl?
They're good enough, but I'm still not going to pick them to do it. I think somehow, some way, something will get in their way, and somebody will stop them. That is what I believe. But the Cowboys, from a talent perspective, I can't deny it. Their defense is elite. It's big time. Their offense is prolific. Not as great as their defense, as far as I'm concerned, is impactful. But if Ezekiel Elliott is running that football effectively and Dak and Amari continue to vibe, I got news for you. Dallas is a load to deal with. And by the way, I wouldn't put it past the Dallas Cowboys at some point to bring Antonio Brown into the mix. I wouldn't put it past them. That's their nature, but that might force things to implode. Talk to y'all Monday. Until then, peace and love.